You might be doing all the right exercises just in the wrong order, and that one mistake quietly steals your strength, mobility, and joint health. We see this every day in commercial gyms. People work hard, really hard, but their results don't match their effort. Not because they're lazy, but because their workout structure is backwards. Warm-ups are random, machine work comes before compound lifts, stabilizers get fatigued before the body actually needs them, flexibility is treated as an afterthought, and all of this adds up. It feels small in the moment, but over months and years, that tiny structural error becomes the difference between steady progress and complete stagnation. In this video, I'll show you how to build a proper workout from start to finish. The exact structure my brother Yanni and I use inside the Unified Movement System. You'll learn how to warm up correctly, how to sequence your primary and supplementary lifts, how to pair strength with flexibility so you stay mobile, and how to avoid the hidden mistakes that kill performance. By the end, you'll know exactly how to structure your workouts to get the full 100% of the results you're working so hard for, not the 60 to 80% most people accidentally settle for. Here's the thing. A 20 to 40% loss in performance doesn't feel big today, but compounded over months and years, it becomes the difference between progress and frustration. Now, when your workouts are structured properly, even with the exact same exercises, everything changes. Strength improves faster, flexibility improves instead of stagnating, the risk of serious injury reduces, technique becomes more consistent, and progress becomes predictable. Now, this video breaks down the exact training structure that we use, which is the structure that ensures that you get every possible adaptation from your time in the gym. Not more effort, not more exercises, not more time, just smarter sequencing. Now, we didn't invent this. This has been taught to us by some of the best coaches around the world. People like the late great Charles Poliquin, Tony Battaglia, Ian King, Ida Portal, Roy Goldschmidt, and many more. In the UMS, we start with a 10-minute warm-up. If you want to learn more about the UMS, I've made a great video. There's a link in the description. This is how you prime your body for the real training. It increases blood flow, so light movement, joint articulation, and dynamic movement patterns means that you're preparing your tissues and the nervous system. We also use trigger point release to boost blood flow and desensitize stiff and vulnerable areas. Foam rolling and trigger point therapy has nothing to do with lengthening muscles, but it will help you increase mobility and strength and train safer. Next part of the 10-minute warm-up is mobility, so hips, ankles, thoracic spine, and shoulders, opening the joints for full range of motion. And finally is body positioning drills to help set the scapula in place, rib cage positioning, pelvic alignment, and breathing mechanics. So by the time you reach your first real set, your body is warm, aligned, neurologically primed, and nothing is wasted. After the warm-up, we move into the primary workout. This is where the real gains are made. Primary lifts always come first because they demand the most coordination, the most stabilization, the most force production, and the most neural drive. And these are always going to be your compound lifts. So squats, deadlifts, bench press variations, rows, chin-ups, dips, overhead press, or calisthenics movements like muscle up. Compound lifts drive mechanical tension, tendon stiffness, high threshold motor unit recruitment, multi-joint coordination. This is where 80% of your results are going to happen. So you do them early, you do them fresh, and you do them well. And if you want to use advanced overload methods, things like cluster sets, wave loading, rest pause method, these are introduced only after the lifter has mastered the fundamentals. Most people use advanced methods way too early, which increases fatigue, decreases intensity, destroys technique. So for beginners and intermediates, advanced overload actually reduces the stimulus. Master the basics first. Earn the right to use overload methods. Now in the UMS, we actually pair strength with flexibility. This is where the system shines. By pairing upper body strength work with lower body mobility and vice versa, you unlock active recovery, so you rest one system while training another. And here's the controversial truth. Unless flexibility is your top priority, nobody has time for stretching. After more than 20 years as a professional coach, I've seen people try every possible way to fit stretching in. They tack it on to the end of the workout, they promise themselves they'll do it at home, but unless you're training twice a day or spending 90 minutes to 3 hours in the gym, it never happens. And what's the result? People get stronger, but they also get stiffer until eventually something gives. Performance always plateaus, or worse, a shoulder, hip, lower back, or elbow injury. This is why you almost never see impressive flexibility in commercial gyms, even among very strong lifters. The reality is simple. Strength and flexibility must be trained together as two sides of the same coin. If you separate them, one's always going to fall behind, and your body will pay the price. The next good reason to pair strength and flexibility together is for deeper and safer stretching. Because after contracting a muscle hard, it's going to fatigue your nervous system. And so this reduces the stretch reflex sensitivity and allows deeper range of motion, better flexibility, safer end range exploration. Next is improved movement quality. This is by far the most efficient way that I've found to be strong and flexible. So instead of doing your set of dips and then just sitting around doing nothing before you do your set of pull-ups, you're using that time to do hamstring flexibility, for example. If you've never paired strength and flexibility together like this before, do it for the next 6 months and come back and comment if you didn't see huge improvements in flexibility. I'll be shocked. All right, now, once the primary workout is done, it's the supplementary exercises. This is where you add volume safely. Supplementary exercises isolate weak links, increase the total work volume, improve structural balance, improve hypertrophy, and build stability. But they must come after the big lifts. You don't do your supplementary exercises first and then go and do pull-ups. You're going to be too weak to produce any noteworthy results in the big compound lifts. Until you have a deep understanding of load management principles, you should rarely, if ever, use pull-up variations, dips, heavy barbell deadlifts, heavy barbell rows, or heavy barbell pressing in the supplementary section. Because they require fresh stabilizers, fresh grip strength, fresh neural drive, and full motor pattern integrity. Pre-fatigue kills your performance on these. Supplementary examples would be tricep extensions, bicep curls, lateral raises, hamstring curls, calf raises, face pulls, external rotation variations, trap 3 raises, chest flies and reverse flies. And for more experienced lifters, you can use dumbbells after barbells, for example. So you'd use your bench press as your primary lift and a dumbbell chest press as a supplementary lift. All these examples are low risk, high volume builders. These are the common mistakes that we see daily in commercial gyms. Machine work before compounds. It destroys stability, kills performance, and leads to strength plateaus. Assisted pull-ups before real pull-ups. Assisted pull-up machines train the wrong strength pathway. This is particularly relevant in the scapular pattern. Instead of teaching you to depress and retract the scapula as you extend the shoulders, the foundation for every real pull-up, they lock you into an artificial path that removes the very stabilizers that you need to develop. That's why the carryover to real pull-ups is almost zero. Frankly, these machines should rarely be used, if ever. If you want to learn real pull-ups, go watch our pull-up tutorials. We break down the exact progressions we use in our coaching, progressions that have taken men and women from 0 pull-ups to multiple chest-to-bar pull-ups. Real pull-ups require scapular control. The machine won't teach you that. We will. Next mistake is fatiguing stabilizers before the big lifts. Tricep rope work before bench press, hamstring curls before deadlifts. This is one of the biggest hidden performance killers that we see in gyms every day. Most people think they're warming up the muscle, but what they're actually doing is fatiguing the stabilizers they desperately need for the big lifts. When you fatigue your triceps before benching, you don't just make the bench press harder, you destabilize the entire movement. Your triceps fail early, your shoulders compensate, your elbows flare, and suddenly the whole lift becomes risky and inefficient. Same thing with hamstring curls before deadlifts. You burn out the hamstring in isolation, then expect them to function as powerful hip extensors under a full body load. It's backwards. Big compound lifts require fresh stabilizers, fresh grip, fresh nervous system, fresh motor patterns. When those systems are already fatigued from isolated work, your heavy lift becomes, well, to borrow one of our favorite sayings, it's like trying to shoot a cannon from a canoe. The foundation simply isn't stable enough to support maximal force. If you want strong, clean, consistent bench presses and deadlifts, you need the stabilizers firing at full capacity, not pre-exhausted from accessories that you should have saved for later. This single mistake can cost people months of progress, all without them realizing why. All right, next is no warm-up structure. People just jump straight in. The nervous system isn't ready. Technique suffers. Don't do it. Instead, do a 10-minute warm-up like what I spoke about before. And then when you go to your primary lift, so let's say you're doing a shoulder press and pull-ups or bench press and bent over row, you follow a 4-3-2-1 warm-up. And that means I'm going to choose an easy number to get your head around. If I know that I'm going to do 100 kilograms on my first set of bench press, then I do 50% of that for 4 reps, then about 75% of it for 3 reps, then about 90% of it for 2 reps, and then the full 100 kilograms for 1 rep. And of course, I go back and forth between the bench press and the row, doing 4 on one, 4 on the other, then 3 on one, 3 on the other, so on and so forth. And that way you warm up effectively, you warm up the whole nervous system, and you're ready to punch out that first set at 100% capacity. Next big mistake is no flexibility pairing. People stretch randomly, not strategically. We see it all the time. People go and do a workout, and then at the end they go to the stretching section and do a really unplanned, non-strategic stretching workout. Look, it's better than nothing. I get it. If you're going to go and do some flexibility work, it's better than doing none at all. But you can do it way better when you strategically pair your flexibility with your primary strength movements. Next is zero consideration for structural balance. Push days with no pulling. Chest dominating over back, shoulders over arms, quads over hamstrings. This is why people end up with shoulder issues, elbow issues, knee issues, back problems, and eventually they stop progressing completely. Don't do it. Apply structural balance to every single workout. Push is always balanced with pull. Left and right side symmetry by using dumbbells for supplementaries in the least. Train the inner unit with the outer unit in the same workout. So that means with an upper body workout, you do some form of rotator cuff work and some form of mid and lower trap work. The same goes for lower body work as well. We want to do knee stabilizers and hip stabilizers, as well as your big primary lifts like your squats and your deadlifts. How to design a proper workout? Summary. Start with a 10-minute warm-up to increase blood flow, use trigger point release, mobility, and body positioning. Next is the primary workout. This is where the compound lifts go for the heavy or technical work, the movement patterns that matter, and only use advanced overload methods when you're ready. Pair strength and flexibility in the primary work. So upper body strength with lower body flexibility, or lower body strength with upper body flexibility. That's going to amplify your flexibility and it increases efficiency, literally doubles the efficiency. Then move to your supplementary workouts. So isolation movements, low central nervous system demand, low risk, high volume, great for hypertrophy and bringing up your weak links. Number 5 is structural balance. So a well-designed program must balance all of the major opposing systems in the body. So when these systems drift out of balance, performance stalls, technique breaks down, and joint stress skyrockets. In the UMS, structural balance means maintaining opposing muscle systems, push versus pull. So pressing strength must be matched by rowing and pulling strength. This keeps the shoulders centered and protects the elbows. Internal stabilizers versus external prime movers. So small stabilizers like the rotator cuff, lower traps, and spinal erectors, VMOs, hip external rotators, they've all got to stay strong enough to anchor the big movers. We want to balance upper versus lower body within 1 week. Your legs should not overpower your upper body and vice versa. Total body balance prevents overuse injuries and improves athleticism. Left to right symmetry, so imbalances creep in slowly, but they show up suddenly, usually as pain. Unilateral work in the supplementary section corrects this early. Strength versus flexibility skills. A strong muscle with poor flexibility is vulnerable. A flexible muscle with poor strength is unstable. Both capacities must progress together to create a resilient, high-performing body. When you design training around structural balance, progress becomes inevitable and sustainable because you're building a body that can handle real strength, real mobility, and real longevity. Most people are doing the right exercises just in the wrong order. Fix the structure and you unlock more strength, more flexibility, better joints, faster progress, and fewer plateaus. This is the training structure that we use ourselves inside the UMS. And it's the structure that unlocks the full 100% of the results that you're working so hard on. If you want to learn more about the Unified Movement System, aka UMS, I've made a great video. You can click or tap the screen there to watch it, and I'll see you in the next video.